Hey everyone, this is a special video for Landlord. So if you're a landlord, watch it, let's talk. COVID's kind of put a damper on things, and there's a lot you can and can't do, but let's go ahead and start planning for when we get out of this, because at some point the vaccine's going to be confirmed and people are going to go back to our lives. The concern with investing in LA and even in California right now is that we're effectively over-regulated. There's too many laws protecting the tenants without thinking about the landlord, which, don't get me wrong, tenants need protection, but so do landlords, because the reality is, if you're the governor, Newsom, if you're watching this, you need landlords in order to provide housing. So over-regulating it to not encourage people to invest in LA or invest in California is a bad idea. Anyways, rant over. What can you do after the pandemic going forward? A couple things to look into. One, can you split utilities, right? I have investors where, like with houses and ADUs, the water is split between the tenants. They actually don't pay that. You can also look into different fees. I've seen gardener fees. And for some tenants, if you are watching, it might sound horrible. Like, hey, why are you hitting us with all these fees? You're being greedy. But the reality is you can only raise rent by so much per year. And our cost of ownership is exceeding that, right? Just to send a guy out to take a look at your air conditioner is $250. So those are things that we're looking at. So when you're looking for additional ways of revenue, that's why. It's really to offset the cost. Other things you can look into if you're a bigger multifamily is coin-operated laundry, if that's an option, if it makes sense. Some of my clients, when they have duplexes or a house with ADU, I actually oftentimes recommend they just include the laundry, have one built into the unit. And the reason for that is it makes it more desirable, right? So you might get more rent, you might get better selection of tenants, anything along those lines. The other thing to look into, frankly, is getting picky with tenants, right? We're in this market where there's not enough housing, right? LA County, I believe, is short about 500,000 units. So you're going to get a bigger pool. So the trick there is to say, hey, what does your credit score look like? What does your income look like? What do your references look like, right? I had gotten an application once. The guy literally had a negative balance in his bank account at some point. I'm not going to accept that. Now, if you're desperate, maybe you say, fine, but I'm gonna get a co-signer. Then that might be a different story, but you have the option to be pickier with your tenants, right? No pets, no smoking, whatever it is. The third and other thing to do going into it is really hone in on your skills as a property manager, unless you're getting it managed by someone else, right? Look at your leases, look at your disclosures, look at your best practices, really figure out how to run this like a business. Because the minute you make an exception for one person and not for someone else, you actually could be running into discrimination issues. Or, hey, I don't know what to do when this happens. Okay, well, create a manual and say that this is what happens. That's something that I'm personally working on, is creating kind of best practices. Hey, the electricity's out. Instead of calling an electrician, maybe in your handbook, it's like, hey, go to LADWP, which is Los Angeles Department of Department of Water and Power, and are there rolling blackouts? I've had that happen twice. My tenants are freaking out because we don't have electricity. It's like, okay, well, instead of me paying a couple $100, let me check online, right? So create those best practices. So again, look at ways to basically decrease your cost or increase revenue, be pickier with your tenants, and really hone in on your skill sets as a landlord, property manager, creating those best practices. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next week.